to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I am joined today by John Pfister, co-founder and EVP at, make me say it, I almost messed it up, Mazo Capital Solutions. Thanks for joining me, John.
Yes, thank you for having me.
It's amazing. This is, I think, episode 154, and I still mess up almost half of the introductions, but whatever.
Forget it. Yeah, no problem.
It's fine. But I appreciate having you on here, man. I think our paths have crossed a few times throughout our 10-year in equipment finance, but I'm looking forward to learning more about you, John, and Mazo. So I guess we'll just kind of jump in here. Do you mind just kind of introducing yourself and your career to date in equipment finance?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm one of the co-founders and executive vice president at Mazo Capital Solutions. I started in the industry in February of 2015. So in Los Angeles, started with Currency Capital in 2015 and worked as an account executive, senior account executive, had the opportunity to move down to Orange County, California with one of my other co-founders here at Mazo, Andrew Kim. Moved down to Orange County in, I want to say, March of 2016, and we were tasked with kind of revitalizing the Orange County office down here for Currency at the time. So we got right to it. There was three or four people in the office at the time when we moved down, and we brought two with us and built that up into a 30+ person office for Currency. So had learned a lot during that time, right? And really went through the hiring process with so many people. We were really in a strong growth phase, and so had the opportunity to really learn how to identify talent, right? And then also learn how to coach up and train that talent and turn them into equipment finance professionals. Moved on. There was a bit of a direction change at Currency and moved more into a business development position as opposed to sales management at that point, and began working with manufacturers, with dealerships, and with associations, and really working to develop vendor programs, and then kind of association member benefits. So stayed at Currency, was there until the pandemic hit, and in May of 2020, I left and went to a more equipment finance to work with Casey Mitchell, which that was another invaluable experience for me. Certainly grateful for my time there, and was only there for 11 months, and not because of anything with Amore, but I had the opportunity with some folks who were leaving Currency at the time, and we had decided that we wanted to join forces to start Mazo Capital Solutions. And so the original idea of Mazo Capital Solutions was formed in December, January of 2020, 2021.
Well, let's face it, Grand Island in December and January, not the place for me.
Well, I was remote the entire time, so it was the pandemic, and I was remote, working from home, and certainly had a lot of support from the organization. Never made it to Grand Island, unfortunately, but still have.
Oh no, you didn't? Okay.
No, I didn't. I didn't make it.
Sorry, Nebraska people watching this, but I worked for an Omaha company for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's like I found myself there in November through February, and it's like when it's negative on your rental car, you're just like, I live in Arizona for a reason.
Yeah,
get me out of here.
Yeah, still a lot of friends and people I really admire in Nebraska and Adam Moore, but it too good of an opportunity, and that's kind of where Mazo kicked off.
No, that's perfect. I can definitely relate to the whole pandemic and not being able. I mean, it was amazing the amount of people, and especially on the business development side.
Mm-hmm.
It's not meant for people like us.
Yeah,
you want to be out and you want to do something, and it's like, no.
It was tough. I think that was the beginning when that's really when I first started pulling my hair out, and eventually it led to me now being completely bald. But I believe that it was from originally pulling my hair out from probably lack of social interaction during the pandemic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Born and raised in California?
No, born Alexandria, Virginia. So born and raised Alexandria, Virginia. went to high school in Washington, D.C., went to James Madison in Harrisonburg, Virginia, and then moved out to California just a bit before, about 6 months before I started with Currency. So end of 2014.
Mom, Dad, I'm going to Hollywood.
Yeah. Little different than that. I did move to LA, but it certainly wasn't to wasn't to get into show business. Let's say that.
Sorry. Just
no.
I didn't know. So just more having some fun.
Yeah, no, all good. All
right. So let's talk about Mazo Capital Solutions.
Yep.
Why start the company? Just like why, you're founded a couple of years ago. I guess just kind of go into what you guys do today, if you don't mind, John.
No, not at all. So it originally, when I was leaving to go to Amore, I had this kind of desire to start something, right? And I had built up a really strong network, especially within the construction equipment space, right? Construction transportation space. And I had a large network of dealerships that I felt would want to continue working with me, that I'd built really strong relationships with. And I originally wanted to, I was going to just set up a desk in my garage and start a one man shop, and had some conversations with my other two co-founders, Andrew Kim and Brad Kistler, and had some conversations about, I felt like we had a really strong complementary skill sets, right? We were all good at different things and all had different experiences that would really allow us to kind of form an organization that was a result of those different experiences and different skill sets. And really early on, after our initial conversations, when we made the decision to jump with Mazo, and it wasn't even Mazo at the time, and we can get into that a little bit more. It was just an idea of a company, but we were able to talk to three folks that we had worked with, Victoria Woods, Peter Wynn, and Connor Maines, who we felt we really aligned with from a values perspective, which was the most important thing. We trusted them wholeheartedly. We knew that they did business the right way, which was super important for us. And we knew that they were hardworking, right? They had that day one mindset that we look for in people, right? Willing to get their hands dirty and come together. And it started just out of kind of a mutual respect and admiration for the people that we were working with, and everything kind of jumped off from there, I suppose. We had initial conversations, and we were talking who do we want to be from a values perspective, right? We need to create a website, but we need a name, and so we were thinking of names, and we had no idea what we wanted to name ourselves. We came up with every kind of generic equipment finance company name. No offense to any others, of course, but
No, it's fine.
synonyms for prosperous, and I was reading Shoe Dog by Phil Knight at the time, and he was telling me, and he was talking a lot about the process of coming up with the name Nike, right? And the strong K within Nike, and it's a 4-letter word, it's memorable. And I'm driving out of my house that day, and I see, and during the pandemic, I'm living on Mazo Drive in Dana Point, California. And so I look at Mazo and I think like, hey, that's actually a pretty cool, memorable word. I don't like, I know the word, obviously I live on the street, but I don't know what it means. And I looked it up, and I mentioned kind of a heavy concentration in construction and transportation. Mazo is Spanish for mallet or hammer, right? Which is a pretty symbolic tool for a small business, for someone in construction transportation. So it also colloquially means or is used to emphasize a great quantity of something in Spanish. And so great quantity of capital solutions. And then the real winner, right? And the real reason that I think we move forward with it is the domain Mazo Capital was $14. Right. So we were able to domain and every other domain we looked at was taken by some small, financial services company in Topeka, Kansas, right? And so we didn't.
I'm sure I called them at one point in my career thinking that they were going to be the next great customer, and it's like, no.
Yeah. So we kind of had, kind of empty digital real estate, and we could really build a brand around it. And we got started with the logo, and you'll see if you see the Mazo logo, it's got the hammer through the M, and it's been a lot of fun. So we started doing that from day one, meeting on a daily basis, and officially launched publicly April 1st, maybe April 5th of 2021. I think April 5th of 2021. It's pretty terrible that I'm forgetting the exact day that we launched, but very beginning of April 2021.
Perfect.
Yeah, we launched, and everyone was remote at the time. We came together, got a small office in a Regis space here in Orange County, and Peter and Victoria are still both remote, but we started growing pretty rapidly. We brought a few people on. We ended up getting a permanent office space that November. Now we have 20 people in the office with us here and 8 more remote, and it's just kind of been a rocket ship since then.
That's fantastic. I mean, what an interesting. I knew nothing about that whatsoever, but that is interesting. What does the GPS say your street is?
The GPS?
Yeah, does it pronounce it Mazo?
Oh yeah, it's Mazo. Actually, I think it's Catalan Spanish. I think it's Mazo.
Okay.
But we go with the strong Z, Mazo. Yeah.
It's just always one of those things where it's like there's a street out here. It's called Germain, even though it's Germann. There's no I or E at the end, so I'm kind of like whatever. And then it turned left on German Road, and I'm like, whatever, just whatever. Yeah. Anyhow, just off topic there. But what was that like? So I guess in building that up, coming to April of 21. I'm assuming California was probably still relatively shut down from a pandemic perspective. Did that make it easier or harder to get this thing off the ground?
I think it was about a year in to the pandemic, right? 2021. And so it was about a year. And I think people were, especially the folks that we brought on initially within those first several months, they were kind of clamoring to get back into a collaborative environment, right? To get back and work side by side. It's crazy. We had like a 500 square, maybe even like 400 square foot Regis shared office space, and like we got up to 9 people in there, which that's pretty close. That's pretty close quarters when there's a pandemic raging. But
sure,
surprisingly, no one got sick. So we had no COVID cases at the time, and we ended up going through our own little bout of COVID later that year when we moved into the bigger space. But it was the people that we brought on. Everyone was we were excited. We were excited. We were working nonstop. There's one little I guess additional piece of context here. The day I resigned from Amore, my wife told me that she was pregnant with our first child. And so
was this before or after the resignation?
Resignation. An hour later, she comes home and surprises me with like a little baby flip-flops and tells me that we have a kid on the way. So I thought really, really quickly, I was like, should I call back and tell them that I was mistaken?
By the way, April Fools. January.
But yeah, so it was such an amazing experience for me, like watching Mazo grow, watching our customer base kind of grow, and seeing a lot of the people that we had worked with in the past jump on board and support us and be kind of loyal partners. Watching this one baby grow, and then literally having my wife go through
figuratively,
and giving birth to our first beautiful little daughter in October of that year. So it was time. I didn't have any choice but to keep my head down and work hard. This had to work, right? I had there was no parachute, right? It was yeah. So
and diamonds crystallize under pressure, right? Right. So there you go, man. There you go. So starting a company, I guess, from scratch. Now, granted, there was some people with you. Any lessons learned in regards? I mean, you're a little over 2 years old, 2.5 almost, right?
Yeah.
It's for me, it was always interesting where it's like, well, who's going to do that? Well, who's going to do this? And at a bigger company, somebody else did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now it falls on you.
So I talk about the day one mindset, and I've seen kind of Bezos talk about that with Amazon, right? And noticing, and at some point he felt like the company had moved, and there was a lot of kind of people with day two mindsets, the managers upon managers upon managers, right? And everyone's delegating down until finally you get this product that's produced by someone with really no ownership in the actual outcome. So at first it's about bringing people on. I've been really lucky to have people in my life who have always told me to read a lot, like told me to read different books and listen to different podcasts and that sort of stuff. So I've kind of been a student of business, especially in these last 2.5 years of this entrepreneurial journey. And one of the ones, James Collins, Good to Great, right? And like, I think it has been a lesson that I've certainly learned is you directionally, you have an idea of where you want to go, right? You have the vision, and as the leader and a founder in the company, you have to have a vision. Now, to say that vision is the perfect end destination, I think is a little unrealistic, right? Directionally, you know where you want the organization to go. You know what you're good at, you know what product you want to offer, and you have a really good idea of what direction you want to head in. But it's all about getting the right people on the bus, right? When you get the right people on the bus, the exact end destination, the exact kind of pinpointed location that you're heading to as an organization is going to be determined in large part by the people that you bring onto the team. And so for us, it was time and time again, those first three that I mentioned to you who kind of joined up with us and were part of that founding team, they were the right people on the bus, and they helped drive so much of who we are today, and obviously who we were in the early days. So I think it's imperative to not be so stubborn or rigid, right? As a leader of the organization, it's really about bringing on the right people, again, who you have that trust and admiration and respect for, and trust in their values, and letting them kind of take the bus, right? Take control of the wheel. And it's like it's like Steve Jobs, right? Why hire smart people and tell them what to do, right? Hire smart people and have them tell you what to do. So much of my journey has been about bringing the right people on, empowering them, and giving them kind of decision-making ability, and just being there to support them, right? Being there to help them with what they need to achieve the outcome that they really want to.
No, that's perfect, and some great advice. What was the last book you read or podcast you listened to?
Podcast. So I have been listening to.
I mean, besides this one,
of course. Well, Fireside chats with Jesse on a weekly basis.
Because there's a lot of great content you get, to run a business listening to me.
Hey, there is. I'm a big fan of the All In podcast. The All In podcast. David Friedberg, Jason Calcagni maybe, or Calcanis, David Sack, Chamath Palihapitiya. So they're venture capitalists. They're also, what I really love about that podcast is there are certainly differing political perspectives, and so they talk about current events. They talk a lot about the venture capital world, technology, investing, but they also generally have a very strong discourse in which they disagree pretty strongly about a lot of things, but they are still best friends, right? And they can still be friends with people that don't necessarily agree with. And so I think it's you listen to so much content in general in which there's kind of one side, and it's just people it's just confirmation bias and people feeding into a narrative and agreeing on this narrative. And so to hear people really disagree, but then still be cordial and be friendly is really refreshing for me. I'm a big fan. Tim Ferriss, obviously, Huberman, all the kind of usual suspects. Most recent book I read. So I actually moved a little bit into fiction. I was reading way too many business self-help books. So the For Whom the Bell Tolls is actually the last book that I finished, and I'm reading another novel right now, but it's not finished. So For Whom the Bell Tolls, Ernest Hemingway.
got it. And pardon my ignorance, I did not know that Ernest Hemingway wrote that. I just thought it was a Metallica lyrics. So,
No,
there we go.
it's a
There we
famous
go.
Ernest Hemingway. Yeah.
Yep. That's just me being a simpleton sometimes. But I think the one I'm listening to now is Influence. I don't know if you've read that book or heard about it. It's interesting.
No, I haven't.
But it's more on the psychology of
Okay, I think
just human behavior.
I haven't read it, but someone gave it to me.
There you go. There you go. I'm
Robert Cialdini.
Like another hour left in it, but I mean, you're a smart guy. A lot of stuff in there is more understanding of yeah, I get that.
It's on a long list of books that I really want to read. That I just
at least you got that. I mean, I listen to a podcast or every morning for 40 minutes while I walk my dog around my neighborhood. So
right. It's better than not. It's better than not, right?
So you got into equipment finance in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
What was the first conference that you went to? Do you remember?
So most of the conferences that I originally went to were not necessarily equipment finance industry association.
More on the construction
more
side,
construction
like
equipment.
Connex or something like that.
ConExpo and a lot of dealer forums for a partner of Currency at the time, Sandhills Global. So it was mostly their forums. I went to a lot of the Montana Equipment Dealer Association. I went to the Arkansas Auctioneer Association show, which was a fantastic time. I saw a live auction. It was pretty fascinating, pretty impressive. The first industry association event that I went to was the spring of 2021, I believe, in Huntington Beach, the NEFA conference. And I think that might have been 22. I think it was 2022.
Yeah. I mean, was that the one that I chaired? The one that had, the guy from USC. His name is slipping my mind. He was, cool.
Is he the kicker, right? Or no?
Long snapper. Yeah.
So that was the first.
Jake Olson, maybe.
Jake Olson.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. So that was my first industry association event, and so much of my experience before had been working directly with the end user or working directly with the dealer, and so I hadn't necessarily been involved in the with syndication and hadn't been involved with other with the funding sources at all. So it was a great event to be at, and it was fantastic, especially having been involved with Mazo then for almost nearly a year. It was great to meet so many of the people that I had, and we had people come and visit us. So I had started to meet some of the folks that represented the funding sources, but it was great to be at the conference and kind of see the equipment finance industry as a whole, right? Gather into one place and really, it was fantastic.
Did Brad show you the list and it's like, stay away from this person, that person, talk to that person, watch out for Jesse after midnight, one of those things?
I've been avoiding you actually for a couple of years just because he told me to stay away. No, I think what's so funny about it is it's such a small, tight-knit group. Everybody knows everybody. And I think that makes it, that to me, coming in as a relative newcomer, makes it so much clearer the importance of doing things the right way and establishing a reputation as someone who does what he says that he's going to do and means what he says, right? And is on the up and up, right? Because I think it's very easy within equipment finance to become someone that someone points to and says, stay away from that guy. And I just, that's something that's been really important to me from day one is to create a reputation where, I don't have to kind of dodge anyone. Like I can go there and be me and do what I need to do to help support and grow my business. And it's just, too many of those folks.
Yeah, it's like it's a really tight knit I guess, group of just industry friends. And what's interesting is you probably have some competitors that you're really friendly with still, just
Yeah.
because it's the nature of this industry. There's enough to go around. But I agree with you. There's a right and wrong way to do things. Let's keep things on the up and up and make sure things are being done correctly.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
So NIFA, do you guys go to AACFB?
Yeah, I went to the most recent conference that was here in Irvine. That's been one, again, especially with kind of just the stage of the business. We have to be a little bit selective about which ones that we attend. I've been to all of the NIFA conferences for sure, and went to the AACFB conference most recently. But there's a lot to be done, and sometimes getting out for a couple of days is tough to recover from. It takes a few days then to recover from being out a couple of days. So we've tried to just keep our head down. I know we are members of ELFA, and Brad has been at ELFA several of the last events, and so that's an organization that we certainly look forward to kind of continuing to develop relationships within. I'm not going to NIFA in October in San Antonio, unfortunately. I was planning to go, but my wife we have number 2 on the way. And so I'm kind of grounded from, thank you. I'm grounded from travel here for the foreseeable future. So I had to sit that one out.
Smart play.
Yeah.
Smart play. Yeah.
Well,
what's interesting,
I've been gone like 5 straight weeks, a couple days each week for 5 straight weeks. So she's put up with enough.
That's enough. And then after baby number 2 arrives, you're going to be like, okay, the clock is starting. It's time to get a good night's sleep. Where am I going?
You said it. You said that.
No. Those words did not come out of your mouth. Just so we're clear. But it's interesting. So on the business development side, you can be gone for 4, 5, 6 weeks in a row and come back and just kind of pick up where you left off. Being a business owner, you come back and it's like, well, what do you mean that stuff's not? It's just the amount of digging out is just, I'm learning that, especially like in the last 18 months, you're just like, what?
Yeah, luckily, look, we've gotten to a point now where we have so many good people that really things run smoothly when I'm out at a show or when I'm out visiting with folks.
Awesome.
I think it's super important for me, especially, to get out and go see the dealers that we're partnered with, and to go see some of the associations that we're members in, and make sure that I'm on the front lines, right? Make sure that I'm seeing exactly what the folks who carry a quota, right, or the folks who are tasked with production within the organization. I need to make sure that I'm not just barking orders or telling people what to do, that I actually know what challenges they're facing, what is the competition doing. Even if that competition is a friend that I've developed at NIFA or some other conference, it's important for me to know how can Mazo secure more business, or how can Mazo make sure that we maintain this current business, right? And not allow someone else to come in. It's a competitive environment, right? And there's a lot of opportunity, but there are certainly, people clamoring and fighting for the same business. And so it's really important that we stay fresh and we remain nimble.
No, especially for independents, you can't compete on the rate with like the banks traditionally did, right? It's all about the people. It's about the handshake. So I agree 100% there. So John, I asked everyone who comes on here to give me a little fun fact about themselves. Anything you'd like to share on the fact that you're a self-induced, shaved gentleman?
Yeah. I'm bald. It's actually kind of a new development.
I was saying that because you said you ripped your hair out. So
I ripped all of my hair out and never grew back. A couple things. I think Blair really wanted me to mention, I am the reigning second place winner of an axe throwing competition in Nashville last year. So I got a little axe that I keep here on my bookshelf, co-branded with one of our partners here. So second place axe throwing winner. I'm not actually very good. I think I just had a lucky run.
Did they give those out, or did you just make that for yourself?
No, this was the second. This was the second place. The second.
Okay. 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 I wasn't sure how you get that back on a plane from Charlotte to California.
I was checking the bag. It was the only way. It was the only way that I got back from that. Checking the bag. Yeah, I didn't carry that on. What else? I mean, I'm relatively boring. I'm a proud father of a beautiful little girl and have a second little girl on the way. I grew up in, I think I had a pretty interesting growing up in the Washington, D.C. area. Most of my life, I wanted to write economic policy or foreign policy. And so I studied international affairs and economics in school and really had an eye for going to work on Capitol Hill. I was a Senate page in high school. So I carried the immigration bill and delivered it to the Senate floor. And I interrupted George Bush while he was giving a speech. And he glared at me, basically like, who the hell is this little kid? When I was a Senate page. So I interrupted George Bush when he was giving a speech at the Senate for Senate
That's
Republican.
Fun. That's awesome.
So that's a little thing. But yeah, I'm mostly focused right now. It's Mazo and the family.
You gotta get I know Brad, I guess traditionally has been at the ELFA events, but you should check out Capital Connections next year.
Yeah, I think he
doesn't cost anything to go to, or the fact that it's DC and it's like $1,000 a night for a hotel room. Yeah. But you grew up in that area, you understand.
Just go stay with my folks. It'll be easy.
There you go. Hey, by the way, I'm bringing 5 friends.
Yeah. I'm bringing all ELFA with
me. That's fantastic, John. So I guess in closing here, why should an organization want to do business with Mazo Capital Solutions?
Yeah, this is something that, and I think a lot of people say it, and I think it's impossible to be perfect at it all the time with the kind of daily, the hustle and bustle, and as you said, the kind of crisis management and everything that comes up. But we don't treat interactions with customers, with vendors, with our funding sources. It's not a transaction, right? Nothing is a transaction to us. It's an opportunity for a true partnership. We certainly don't go into any relationship just looking to maximize the amount of money that we can make on a single deal, right? We want to do good business. We want to support the best interests of the parties involved, right? So we want our funding source to win. We want the vendor to win. We want the customer to have fair terms and have terms that allow them to be successful as a business. And I think that we really strive to do that on every interaction, right? And I think that's something that a lot of folks in the industry, not a lot of folks, but I've seen folks that become very driven by like the amount of money that can be made in a singular deal. And that's just not the way that we approach it. We're here to stay. We have a heavy emphasis and are working to develop technology that we believe is going to, when coupled with an extremely effective and well-trained sales team, that is going to allow us to present a really attractive product that's the best of both worlds, right? We don't think that technology is going to solve everything. We think that there's a strong need for the human touch, but when really strong and capable humans and equipment finance professionals are enabled by technology, they can be extremely effective and extremely efficient. So we want to marry those two things really well and continue to get our name out there and build our brand and do things the right way.
That's refreshing to hear. And I think of the number of these that I've done, that's a great summation, man, of what you guys are looking at, what you guys have built, and what you guys are going to continue to do, John. So thank you for sharing that.
No, absolutely. I really appreciate you having me on, and certainly not in October, obviously, but sometime in the future, if you're in Orange County, or if I'm in the Phoenix area, I'll get your number and we'll connect, and then I'll see you at one of the shows in the future.
Sounds great, John. I appreciate your time, man. Good luck with baby number 2. Get some rest now while you can.
I'm trying. Thanks, Jesse.
All right, man. Have a good one. Take care.
All right.
Bye.